Welcome to Encountering Christ, a podcast about meeting Jesus in the ordinary moments of life, learning how to invite others into those encounters, and exploring practical ways to recognize Christ at work in our daily rhythms. Our prayer is that this time helps you see and share Christ more clearly. Today we talk about God's omnipotence, and by that we mean God's power and God's sovereignty. And we previously talked about God's will, which speaks of what God desires, and that goes together with God's power. In short, God can do whatever he chooses to do, and there's no limit on his power to do so. He has all power. Now, when I think about all the power in the universe and in eternity, what is it and where does it come from? I know that the sun has power. It has the power to burn, to heat, and to provide light. But where does its power come from? And I'm not asking what are the physical properties that cause it to have power. I'm asking who determined it? Who made the natural law in which it works? Who placed it in its position in the galaxy? Who gave the sun its power? And of course, the answer is the one who created it. Now, the same thing is true of everything in creation, including you and me. I have the power to do some things. I have power to physically act. I have the power to think, to breathe, to live, and all of it comes from God. See, every power that exists in the universe and in eternity has its origin in the manner in which God created it. God has all creative power. All other power is given by God. Therefore, that which is created cannot understand nor equal the power of God. In fact, if you took all the created power in all the universe and in eternity and put it all into one being, it would still be beneath the power of the one who created it. Now, some try and be sly, and they try to come up with things that God can't do, like, can God create a rock so big that he can't push it? Or perhaps even point out that God can't sin. And what is that? Well, I tell you, neither of those lessen the reality that God is all-powerful, especially when those ideas are derived in minds that only live and move and have their being because God gave it. See, neither one of those questions lessens the power of God. Of course, no, God can't sin, but if he did, it would lessen who he is, not increase it. And no, God can't create something that's bigger than himself, nor would he. See, that too would be absurd. Our little quips and scenarios do nothing to lessen the power of God. So, letting go of those absurd reasonings of man, let's simply explore the power of God. All-powerful means that there is nothing God can't do. Jeremiah 32:17. Ah, sovereign Lord, you have made the heavens and the earth by your great power and outstretched arm. Nothing is too hard for you. Out of all that God has created, is there anything he can't change or do or alter? Well, of course not. And that includes not only the physical, but the spiritual. Can God overcome our sin? Yes. Can God bring peace to a heart? Of course he can. God can do anything he wants. Can God raise the dead? Absolutely. The reason why we know of God is because we have seen a small taste of his power in raising his own son and others from the dead. And I just have to say, resurrection is easy for him. It's not a strain. Creating the universe is easy for God. Now, I know for me, I'm 60 years old, and the older I get, the less power I have. I have to exercise to maintain or grow my physical power. Now, I would also add that my mental capacities have something to do with my personal power, so as I can learn to work smarter, not harder, if you will. Now, the point is this. God has created us in a manner that each of us has a certain amount of power, strength, mental and physical strength. And let's add one more. Each of us has a level of authority in government, in work, or in the home, another form of power. Yet all of that earthly power is within the parameters of what God allows us to have. Our power is given in one way or another, not produced. Either God provides it or God allows it. All power in every form is under His purview. Not only that, from the abilities that God has given us, we are incapable of even imagining the vastness of God's power, as it says in Ephesians 3:20. Now to Him who is able to do immeasurably more than all we ask or imagine, according to His power that is at work within us. And just let that sink in. God is omnipotent. God is all powerful, and He has created us in a manner that we could not even come close to understanding everything that means. And here's the principle. It is impossible for the created to ever fully understand the Creator. So what does that mean for you and me? Well, we are to participate in the exertion of God's power. Not that we become His power, but that His power is realized in us, through us, and with us. We are to rely on the power of God. But how do we do that? Well, first, remember and consider what God has done. Psalm 105, verse 4. Look to the Lord and His strength. Seek His face always. Remember the wonders He has done, His miracles and the judgments He pronounced. See, consider the creation of the world with just His voice. So consider the raising of Lazarus and others from the dead. Consider the resurrection and ascension of Christ. Consider the healings. Consider that God's message has spread across the world many times. So first, consider what God has done. Secondly, willingly give Him authority in and over your life. As the Bible says, God's power is perfected in our weakness. And what does that mean? Well, it means when we trust Him with our lives, He moves in our lives in great power. Our lives are lived and ordered in the moving of His power and not our own. And that is a very different life and a very different result. I mean, why would we live our lives in the power of a bicycle when we can live our lives in the power of a rocket ship? If our lives are lived in His power, it changes everything. Our lives lived in our power changes nothing. But that requires our willingness to give Him authority. And I just want to ask you, do you trust God with your life? I mean, really. Do you listen to what He wants you to do with your life and then go and do it? Now, what I'm talking about here isn't giving God the authority to fix the things that you don't like. I'm talking about all of your life. The accomplishment of the life He has given you. I wonder what God could accomplish in my life if I were to hand it all over to Him to be lived in His power. I can honestly say, everything I have tried on my own has landed in frustration or ended in failure. But everything that has been involved in putting together that He has been involved in putting together has only seen success. When God is in charge of my marriage, parenting, my vocation, situations, problems, struggles, grief, and much more, God blesses it. But when I take control of the marriage and the parenting and the vocation and everything else, there's always struggle and trouble and heartache. Making my life work and making my life have meaning on my own is nothing but struggle and trouble, and it's hard. But letting God lead and take the driver's seat in my life brings joy and meaning. Why? Because God is all powerful and He can do anything He wants. And here's the kicker. It's easy for Him. And why? Because God has all power and He can fix anything and He can do anything He wants. I put my trust in God for a lot of reasons, but one of them is this. I entrust my life to God because He is omnipotent. Put your full trust in the Lord, for He is the all-powerful God. God bless.